Honestly, what's interesting to me is we've all gone to the one knee, not all, but you see a lot of one knee stances, and it's interesting because so many guys are now having their best years blocking, which is crazy because, but you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, well, they're halfway down already, right? I mean, and essentially it just becomes, I can let it get all the way to here, and my body, because of my one knee stance, my torso's in a really good position to block most of the time. If you're in a good position, in one knee setup. So you're in a really good position. What do you sacrifice? You may sacrifice some lateral movements, right? But at some point it's got to come down to, okay, I can't block the ball 3 feet to my right. At some point it's got to come down to, don't throw the ball 3 feet to his right, right? I mean, and when they do, hang with them, try to glove it, whatever you can. But if it's within that body frame and even probably a little bit more outside it, we're finding that a lot of guys that are on the one knee stance are actually blocking way better than they ever have. And a lot of times what it creates too is, if they actually are able to get the knee that's up down, they almost walk into the block and it gets them up faster as well. It's almost like a rhythm into the get up, if you will, of the block. And it's really cool to see. And really what happens then, once they see, oh, I can block out of this position, now it becomes, can I throw out of this position? And it's funny because even with the block and throw, it's like, well, how am I going to, like, what do I do? What's the technique? And it kind of goes back to my analogy to my son throwing the football over the house. It's like, I don't know what you're going to do. You may be different than this guy and this guy, but get in that stance and then let's throw. Let's see what you do. Yeah. And it's really hard for them to grasp that concept. But if the guy's stealing, you're going to probably figure out a way to get a throw off. If you don't, then you're probably not in a good setup, right? And so it's really interesting to see these guys making stance changes and being open to it, and then really seeing the benefits of it. Like, I feel like I caught wrong my whole life, which is not easy to say, right? I mean, I feel like, man, if I had just known about this and I just had been more, if I had explored more and been more curious, maybe I could have done something back in the day. But at the same time, they weren't measuring the receiving then, so you weren't exposed to that flaw that maybe you had receiving. So it's just kind of took its course.
Information in general wasn't there as much as obviously now.
It was very subjective, right? And so you go back to, the coach sees runners moving up a lot. That's what he's going to remember. And so it's been an interesting shift in the position, but really fun to kind of be a part of as a coach and player, like just see the evolution of it. And then how can you stay not one step ahead, but how can you make sure that you are maximizing your player's athletic ability to get the most out of them?